The discovery. The acid rain had finally stopped, leaving behind a metallic smell that mixed with the usual stench of rust and decay. Liam Mercer wiped the condensation from his protective goggles and continued picking through the mountains of discarded technology in the Meridian scraplands. His backpack was already heavy with salvage, circuit boards, power cells, and a nearly intact neural interface he'd pried from an old military drone. Good haul for a Tuesday. At 34, Liam had spent half his life as a salvager. Not the most prestigious job in New Meridian, but it kept him fed and housed in his modest hab unit on the city's edge. More importantly, it kept him away from people. After the resource wars, after losing his family to the Eastern Coalition bombings, solitude had become his only comfort. The setting sun cast long shadows across the junkyard, turning the piles of scrap into jagged silhouettes against the pollution-stained sky. Time to head back. But as Liam turned toward the exit, his scanner beeped, an anomalous energy signature, faint but distinct, about 50 meters to the east. He hesitated. Chasing mysterious signals after dark wasn't smart, but unusual readings often led to valuable tech. With a sigh, he adjusted his course and followed the signal. The beeping led him to a recent addition to the scraplands, the remains of what appeared to be a small spacecraft, its hull design unlike anything Liam had seen before. Not Coalition, not Alliance, not corporate. The craft had been partially buried in camouflage, as if someone had tried to hide it. Now that's interesting, Liam muttered, approaching cautiously. Salvaging alien tech was strictly illegal. All extraterrestrial artifacts were government property by law, but only if someone reported it. As he circled the wreckage, Liam noticed a trail of iridescent fluid leading away from the ship. It glowed faintly in the dimming light, reminiscent of bioluminescent algae. Following the trail, he came to a massive pile of compacted scrap, where the glowing droplets disappeared beneath a sheet of warped metal. Liam activated his wrist light and moved the metal sheet aside, revealing the small cavity. Inside was a figure, curled up defensively. "Holy shit," he whispered. The creature looked almost human at first glance. Humanoid body, 2 arms, 2 legs, but the similarities ended there. Iridescent scales covered its body, shifting between deep blue and purple. A thin, whip-like tail wrapped protectively around its torso. Its face was delicate, almost elfin, with small horns protruding from a mane of silvery hair. And when the creature opened its eyes, they were vertical slits of luminous gold, like a reptile's. She, Liam somehow knew it was female, hissed weakly, revealing sharp teeth. Her side was wounded, leaking the same glowing fluid he'd followed, and her scales had dulled around the injury. She was starving, dehydrated, and terrified. "It's okay," Liam said softly, removing his goggles to show his face. "I won't hurt you." The alien girl studied him. Her breathing labored. She made a series of clicking sounds followed by words in a language Liam didn't understand. When he shook his head, she switched to another language, then another. "English?" she finally rasped, her voice like gravel over silk. "You speak English?" Liam blinked in surprise. "Yes, you can speak my language." "Universal translator," she whispered, tapping a small device partially embedded in her throat. "Not working well. Damaged in crash." "You're hurt," Liam said, stating the obvious. "I can help. Do you understand?" The alien's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Why would you help?" "Humans report non-terrestrials. Law." Liam glanced back toward the direction of the city, where lights were beginning to flicker on. She was right. The smart move would be to alert the authorities. There would be a reward, not insignificant for someone in his position. But something about leaving her here to die, or worse, to be dissected in some government lab, felt wrong. "Not all humans follow all laws," he said finally. "Can you walk?" She tried to stand but collapsed. Liam made a quick decision and gathered her in his arms. She was surprisingly light, her body temperature much higher than a human's, like holding a feverish child. "I'm Liam," he said as he carried her back toward his salvage vehicle. "Nyraxilix Vorthalin," she replied weakly. "Nyra. Well, Nyra, let's get you somewhere safe before the patrol drones make their rounds." As if on cue, the distinctive whine of government drones echoed in the distance. Someone must have detected the ship's energy signature. Liam moved faster, his heart pounding. The alien girl in his arms had gone still, her golden eyes half closed. Liam reached his battered transport, essentially a covered motorcycle with storage compartments, and carefully placed Nyra in the cargo section. It would be a cramped, uncomfortable ride, but better than the alternative. "Stay quiet," he whispered, closing the compartment. "We'll be at my place soon." The ride back to his hab unit was tense. Liam took side routes, avoiding main thoroughfares and their surveillance systems. The drones were concentrated around the scraplands now, but it wouldn't be long before they expanded their search. His living space was small, a bedroom, bathroom, and combined kitchen/living area. But it was isolated at the edge of a largely abandoned residential block, perfect for a man who valued privacy or for hiding an injured alien. After ensuring no one had followed them, Liam carried Nyra inside and laid her on his bed. Under the harsh artificial lighting, she looked even worse. The wound on her side was deep, and her scales had lost their luster. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes glazed. "Water," she gasped, "and heat." Liam brought water and turned up the heating system as high as it would go. As Nyra drank greedily, he searched his limited medical supplies for something to treat her wound. "This might sting," he warned, applying antiseptic to the gash. Nyra hissed but didn't pull away. "Your planet's bacteria," she explained through gritted teeth. "Incompatible with my biology. Dangerous." Liam worked in silence, cleaning and bandaging the wound as best he could. When he finished, Nyra's breathing had steadied, her eyes more alert. "Why?" she asked simply. Liam shrugged, uncomfortable with the directness of her gaze. "Seemed like the right thing to do. Your government would disagree. I am valuable. Research subject." She spat the last words with disgust. "What happened? Why were you in that ship? Why Earth?" Nyra's expression darkened. "Escaping. My people, the Draconid. We discovered your planet decades ago. Have been observing. I am scientist, xenobiologist. I study life on other worlds." She paused, coughing. When she continued, her voice was bitter. "My findings about humans contradicted official position. Draconid hierarchy believes all other species inferior, especially mammals, suitable only for subjugation or experimentation. I found evidence of human intelligence, creativity, compassion. Argued for diplomatic contact instead of planned invasion." Invasion. Liam felt a chill. Nyra nodded grimly. "Scheduled for your next solar cycle. I tried to warn. To stop them. Was discovered. Branded traitor. Escaped with data proving human sentience matches our own. Ship damaged in pursuit. Crashed here." She gestured weakly. "Now hunters follow. Elite warriors. Will find me soon." Liam sat back, trying to process this information. An alien invasion was coming, and he just harbored possibly the only friendly member of the invading species. These hunters, they're coming here. To Earth. Yes. Tracking my ship. Maybe already here. Her golden eyes locked with his. "You should have left me. Now you are also target." Before Liam could respond, his security system beeped. Proximity alert. Someone or something was outside his hab unit. "Stay here," he whispered, reaching for the pulse pistol he kept for protection. It was mostly used for scaring off rival salvagers, but it would have to do. Peering through the security feed, Liam saw nothing unusual at first. Then a shadow moved, unnaturally tall and fluid. Not human. "They're here," Nyra whispered, appearing beside him despite her injuries. "The hunters. We must run. No time, Liam replied, mind racing. My transport is outside. They'd catch us before we got 10 meters. He looked around desperately. We need to hide you. As the shadow neared his door, Liam made a split-second decision that would change his life forever. Instead of hiding the alien girl or surrendering her to the hunters, he would stand with her, against her people, against an invasion force coming to subjugate his world. For the first time since losing his family, Liam Mercer had found something worth fighting for. The confrontation. The hunter outside Liam's door was an imposing figure, over 7 feet tall with midnight blue scales and 4 arms, each ending in wickedly curved claws. Its face was similar to Naira's but harder, with multiple horns forming a natural crown. When it spoke, the translator embedded in Naira's throat converted the clicks and hisses to English. Scientist Nyraxilix Vorthalin, by order of the Draconid hierarchy, surrender yourself and the stolen data. Do so, and the human sheltering you may live as a study subject rather than expire immediately. Liam glanced at Naira, who had pressed herself against the wall beside the door, clutching her wounded side. Her golden eyes met his, filled with regret and determination. Get ready to move, he whispered, then called out to the hunter. She's injured and can't come to the door. You'll have to come in. A pause. Then, very well, open your dwelling, human. Resistance is inadvisable. Liam took a deep breath and released the lock. The moment the hunter stepped inside, Liam fired his pulse pistol directly at the alien's face. The hunter roared in pain as the energy burst temporarily blinded it. Dropping to its knees, Liam grabbed Naira's hand and pulled her past the disoriented alien, out into the night. My workshop, he gasped as they ran. It's reinforced. We can barricade ourselves. They made it 20 meters before the hunter recovered and burst from the hab unit, its roar shaking the ground. 2 more hunters emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing like embers in the darkness. Liam's workshop was a converted industrial unit, its walls and doors designed to contain explosions from his more volatile salvage experiments. As they reached it, he punched in the access code with trembling fingers. The reinforced door slid open, and they stumbled inside. Lock it down, Naira urged as Liam activated the emergency protocols. Metal shutters dropped over the windows, and the door sealed with a pneumatic hiss. That won't hold them for long, Liam said, grabbing tools and parts from his workbenches. We need weapons. Naira shook her head. Their scales repel most projectiles. Energy weapons barely slow them. She reached into a hidden pocket and pulled out a crystalline device the size of a playing card. This is what they want. The data chip containing my research and the invasion plans. Liam stared at the innocent-looking object. That little thing is worth all this trouble. It contains proof that humans match Draconid intelligence metrics. By our own laws, a species of equal intelligence cannot be subjugated. She looked up at him, her expression pained. It would force the hierarchy to abandon the invasion or face internal rebellion. Outside, the hunters circled the workshop. One tested the door, its claws screeching against the metal. We need to transmit the data, Liam said suddenly. Broadcast it to your people. Impossible. Would need quantum transmitter tuned to Draconid frequencies. Technology beyond your world's capabilities. Liam grinned, a plan forming. Maybe not. I've salvaged components from crashed ships before. Never knew they were alien, but they never worked with Earth tech. He moved to a storage locker and pulled out a strange device with crystalline components. Like this. Found it 3 years ago. Couldn't figure out what it was. Naira's eyes widened. A synchronous transmitter node. Yes, this could work. She took the device, her claws clicking against its surface as she examined it. Damaged but repairable. Need power source. Strong one. As Liam gathered the necessary components, a massive impact shook the building. The hunters were trying to break in. Working frantically, they cobbled together a makeshift transmitter. Liam's years of salvaging and repairing technology proved invaluable, his human intuition compensating for the gaps in Naira's damaged memory. "One problem," Naira said as they finished. "Signal needs amplification to reach Draconid space. Without it, transmission range too short." Another impact rocked the workshop. The door was beginning to buckle. Liam considered their options. "The old communications tower. It's about half a kilometer from here. Used to be for local broadcasts before the war. If we can get there, could we use it?" "Yes, perfect. But hunters will follow. Will catch us before we reach it." Liam smiled grimly. "Not if they're distracted." He moved to a shelf and retrieved several remote detonators and homemade explosives, insurance against rivals in the cutthroat salvage business. "We'll give them something else to worry about." The plan was risky. Liam would create a diversion with the explosives, while Naira made for the tower with the transmitter. He would join her there after leading the hunters away. As they prepared to execute their plan, Naira caught Liam's arm. "Why risk your life for me? For my people who come to conquer yours." Liam's expression softened. "Because you risked yours to warn us. Because you saw something worth saving in humanity when your people saw only resources to exploit." He squeezed her scaled hand. "And because it's been a long time since I had something to fight for." With the hunters nearly through the door, they put their plan into action. Liam triggered the workshop's emergency ventilation system, creating an escape route through the roof. As Naira climbed out with the transmitter, Liam set his explosives with remote detonators. When the hunters finally broke through, Liam was waiting. He triggered the first explosion, collapsing part of the ceiling between him and the aliens, then fled through a pre-prepared escape tunnel that led to an adjacent building. The night became a deadly game of cat and mouse. Liam led the hunters on a chase through the abandoned industrial sector, triggering explosions to slow them down and confuse their tracking abilities. His knowledge of the area, every hiding spot, every shortcut, gave him an edge the technologically superior hunters lacked. Meanwhile, Naira raced toward the communications tower, her injuries slowing her, but her determination unwavering. The transmitter was heavy, and each step sent pain through her wounded side, but the fate of two species rested on her reaching her destination. As she neared the tower, a fourth hunter appeared, blocking her path. Weaponless and weakened, Naira faced her pursuer with defiance. "Traitor," the hunter hissed. "The hierarchy will erase your name from our history. Our history is built on lies." Naira replied, "I've seen the truth. Humans deserve to live free." The hunter lunged, but before it could reach her, a salvage drone crashed into its side. Behind it stood a group of humans, salvagers like Liam, armed with makeshift weapons. "Friend of Mercer's?" asked the leader, a scared woman with a mechanical arm. He called, said you needed help. Relief flooded through Naira. "Yes. Need to reach tower. Transmit message. Then let's move," the woman ordered. "Boys, keep that thing busy." As the salvagers engaged the hunter with surprising effectiveness, their improvised weapons may have been primitive, but they were creative. Naira and the woman made for the tower. At the base of the structure, they found Liam, bloody but alive. "Two down, one injured," he reported. "Fourth one. Your friends are handling it," Naira said, amazed. "How?" "Called in some favors. Turns out I'm not as alone as I thought." He took the transmitter. "Let's finish this." The three climbed the tower, reaching the broadcast platform as dawn broke over the horizon. Working together, they connected the transmitter to the tower's power source and amplification system. "Ready," Naira announced, inserting the data chip. Once activated, transmission will reach Draconid High Council. Truth about humans will be known to all. Below, the remaining hunters had regrouped and were ascending the tower, their roars echoing in the morning air. "Whatever happens," Liam said, looking at Naira, "I'm glad I found you in that junkyard." Naira's scales shimmered with emotion. "And I am glad it was you who found me." The transmitter hummed to life, broadcasting Naira's research across light years to her homeworld. The data included not just scientific measurements of human intelligence, but recordings of human art, music, literature, and acts of compassion, including Liam's decision to save an enemy alien at great personal risk. As the hunters reached the platform, the transmission completed. The lead hunter raised its weapon to strike, then froze as its communication device activated. The message was from the Draconid High Council itself. The invasion was cancelled. Naira's evidence had caused immediate upheaval in the hierarchy. The hunters were ordered to return, with Naira, to testify before the council. "I must go," Naira told Liam as the hunters waited impatiently. "Must ensure change happens, that your world remains safe." Liam nodded, understanding but reluctant. "Will you come back?" Naira touched his face gently, her claws retracting to avoid hurting him. "First contact between our species was you finding me in Junkyard, saving me when you could have turned me in. That story will be told for generations." Her golden eyes held his. "And yes, I will return. There is much for our peoples to learn from each other." As the sun rose fully over New Meridian, Liam watched Naira depart with the hunters. He wasn't alone. The salvagers who had come to his aid stood with him, a newfound community bound by their shared experience. In saving one alien girl, Liam Mercer had not only rediscovered his connection to humanity, but had potentially saved his entire species, not through superior technology or strength, but through the very qualities the Draconid had dismissed: compassion, creativity, and the simple choice to help someone in need. It was the most human thing he could have done.